Bonjour YouTube, bienvenue sur The Stanley Parable 2. J'ai très hâte de commencer ce jeu, ça fait vraiment longtemps que j'attends ça, hein. J'ai beaucoup apprécié le premier. Donc bon, on va découvrir ça ensemble, hein. Je pense que c'est mieux d'avoir vu le premier pour comprendre parce que c'est quand même assez méta comme jeu. On commence.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building.
Il y a des ballons.
Employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor at his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what Employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Est-ce qu'il va nous refaire la phrase du mémo?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ça va, il va trop loin ce jeu à chaque fois. Le saut!
Stanley picked up the bucket.
Ah, on va avoir le bouton Jim.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him.
Ah mais du coup on peut tout refaire mais avec le...
Employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be.
C'est dans le jeu, hein, les bruits comme ça, là. Quand je clique, ça fait du bruit.
Truly, being here with the bucket was a grand adventure. Stanley reflected on all they'd been through together. First, walking through the door on the... No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift. Good,
Said the bucket.
now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Mais ça va trop loin là parce qu'on peut tout refaire là. Oh!
But Stanley feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms. How deeply touching.
It's mine.
Hi, Stanley. Just wanted to leave you a message to let you know there's a few things I need you to pick up on your way home from work today. We need milk, cereal, dish soap, spaghetti, get a thing of sugar, some bread, and coffee beans, whichever ones you like. I'll give you a call if there's anything I forgot. Thanks, sweetie. See you tonight.
Ok.
Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Well, no, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo.
Oh, well, look who's got cold feet. Well, from here, it looks like the only way forward is down, since the lift won't be coming back, but that's okay. You've got a bucket.
Ils ont refait
Did
tous
you
les
know that
trucs.
buckets are routinely used as cushioning devices? It's true. You can fall on a bucket from literally any height and survive.
C'est pas vrai ça. Il a dit que je survivrais.
I'm serious, Stanley. Jump. Jump with the bucket. I promise you'll live. I extra double promise that you can land on the bucket and not die. You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Oui. Sauter avec le saut, une ref au M-World.
Okay, this is day number 295, tape number... I don't even know. I've lost track. Nothing feels real anymore. The longer I study this bucket, the less
De Dieu.
sense anything makes. The sheer euphoria I feel every time I pick it up. No matter how many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling. And the emptiness in my chest when I set it down. It doesn't make sense. There's no explanation for it. I still haven't figured out why I see the world so differently when this bucket is in my arms. Why everything feels so... What do I do with this treasure? I can monetize it. Yes. It's unthinkable the amounts of money people will pay for even just an hour with the bucket. This is my golden ticket. But I have to be careful, because as soon as this gets out, there's going to be a target on my back. Even now, I don't know who might be trying to get... What's that? Who's there?
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. He hoped very much that it was.
Figurine Finders Comité. Il y en a forcément une dans le placard. Le placard à balai.
The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Oh. Trust the completionist instinct. Il y a une reward si tu les trouves tous. Stairs. Something to do with stairs. Somewhere both red and blue. Fireplace. Private but smelly place for an important person. Tiens. Là, faut retrouver tout ça, là. Mais je sais plus comment on va dans ces machins.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy? It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say.
No!
It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Whee! Because the boss knows that what the boss says goes in the boss first loss. That's what the boss chooses.
Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini-stands? Stanley figs? What about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Ouais, les portes rouges et bleues, mais je sais plus comment on est arrivé jusque-là, quoi. Ah oui, c'était peut-être avec le mont de charge quand on prenait la passerelle.
Into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation. Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines.
Ça devait être Fireplace.
Between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
C'était sans doux, hein. C'était quoi les deux autres? Il y avait un truc avec les stairs et un truc avec bleu et rouge. Stairs, c'est peut-être là où on a rencontré le journal de Josiane. Mais je sais plus comment on y va, encore une fois.
It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
May your heart be your guiding bucket. C'est exactement ça.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death. The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
Action figurine. Non mais il a dit qu'avec mon seau je risquais rien.
Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
L'incinérateur. Ah oui, c'est vrai, fallait pas quitter le jeu là.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had
Et on ne critique pas les kinks et les fétiches des gens, hein, du coup.
But what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end, as it was crushed violently to death.
Et c'est reparti.
It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
Le sceau vous accompagne à la grande exposition. Vous vous tenez au bord du savoir, tout comme un sceau. L'esprit humain est souvent vide à l'intérieur, un vide caverneux. In memoriam. Grâce à l'exposition qui se présente à vous, l'esprit peut se remplir, s'enrichir et être satisfait. Les connaissances du sceau et son histoire sont les seules que nous ayons véritablement. Utiliserez-vous ce que vous apprenez ici dans le monde extérieur? Accepterez-vous l'esprit? Quoi? Acceptez-vous l'esprit ouvert? ce qui peut paraître complexe quant aux informations de cette exposition? Changerez-vous votre vie et la vie de vos proches suite à cette exposition, ou fermerez-vous les yeux pour continuer à vivre comme avant, dans l'ignorance et l'obscurité?
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
Il y a beaucoup plus de 25 sauts là, qu'est-ce que c'est que cette histoire? Le photographe a souffert d'une catatonie de plusieurs semaines causée par l'euphorie de l'exposition de tant de sauts à la fois. Un seau à 2 anses! Ce seau est illustré avec 2 anses, cependant un tel concept n'a jamais existé en vrai, car il est considéré comme trop risqué et dangereusement expérimental. Chaque année, des dizaines de personnes sont mises à mort pour le simple fait d'essayer. Oh non, la chaise! Le sceau infernal. Une reproduction du sceau infernal qui au Moyen-Âge avait un attrait si intense que des dizaines de pays s'affrontèrent pour en obtenir le contrôle. Il y eut des milliards de morts. Et malgré tout, ce simple fait demeure, personne ne peut contrôler un sceau. Le sceau du stress. Présenté sans commentaire. Tu mets tous tes stress dedans et tu ouvres le robinet. Dessin de grotte. Si nous savons que les sceaux précèdent l'existence de l'humanité, nous ne savons pas de combien de temps. Ce dessin d'une grotte illustre la découverte humaine précoce des commodités du sceau. À cette époque, le sceau existait déjà depuis plusieurs millénaires. Observé dans ces dessins comme le sceau se laisse utiliser, ayant jugé les êtres humains comme étant dignes de ces trésors.
No man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
Le sceau accroché. Cette œuvre symbolise la relation nécessaire entre le sceau et l'humanité. Quel que soit ce que nous comprenons sur le sceau, il y a toujours plus de connaissances qui restent inaccessibles. Cette distance est forcément pour notre bien. Oh, je pensais que j'allais tomber!
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong.
Bon, cette fois, je quitte pas le jeu.
Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements. If only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision.
Bon, je sais pas s'il y avait un truc, mais effectivement, j'ai choisi ce choix-là.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply... Warmth spread through Stanley's arms. With the bucket in his arms again, he was home. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Well, no, never mind.
J'avais rien loupé.
Bucket
D'accord.
was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Good,
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked. No, stop. Look there on the wall, you see? There's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point.
C'est vrai, hein?
How could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it.
Va falloir recommencer sans le saut.
Could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
Oh merde, il fallait venir sans le saut cette fois. Oh merde, qu'est-ce qu'on a? Je peux pas le lâcher, non. Yeah.
Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket? Incorrect.
Quoi?
It's a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket. Item 2. Is this a bucket? Incorrect. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Dun, 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 dun.
Item 3. Is this a bucket?
Peut-être devrions-nous appeler Josiane?
Ah oui, moi je pense que c'est... Je pense que c'est bien un bucket. Moi j'accepterai.
Tu es sûr, hein?
Ah oui, pour moi c'est... Moi c'est un bucket.
Correct. This is a bucket.
Ah, Josiane, elle savait. Merci, merci Josiane.
Item 4. Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a tractor and not a bucket. To be honest, I just sort of put this one in here as a
Effectivement.
gimme, but I was starting to get concerned that even this might be too much for you. Thank you for not making me look like an idiot. Okay, next one.
Mais c'est encore un tracteur. Il est chiant ce jeu.
Incorrect. This is a bucket. Item 6. Is this a bucket? Trick question. Both. Gotcha. Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. Should be around here somewhere. Okay, you and I both know there isn't anything here. And I don't appreciate the
Il me fatigue ce jeu, il me fatigue là.
When we both clearly know that a bucket is something, and therefore nothing could possibly be something. Unless, in your twisted mind, have you somehow convinced yourself that a bucket is nothing? Answer me straight, Stanley. Do you believe that nothing is a bucket? You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket? Stanley, I can't keep doing this.
Mais non, vous n'êtes pas un sot. Oh, ça a pas marché.
I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely.
Non.
Okay, here we go. What happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my God, I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue. But it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what. I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go.
J'ai rien compris. Y a plus de saut? Tu veux pas que je prenne de saut? Oh, c'est pas pareil.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was grand, majestic, perhaps, but eager to get...
Il faut qu'on retourne à la porte bleue et rouge, sans le saut.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Oh.
Now listen carefully, this is important. You're getting close now, Stanley. You've nearly gotten all of the Figler-Anlerines.
Figler-Anlerine, quoi?
You'll collect the last one, and then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them. And now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler-Anlerines. None of us can.
Bon, par contre, la prochaine, c'est avec des escaliers, mais est-ce que c'était... C'était pas l'inverse, la dernière fois, là?
Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley?
C'était pas l'inverse.
I wanted to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you. What do we want? What are we looking for? Here. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in... No, wait. Where are you going? Oh, no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this.
Journal. J'ai recommencé la drogue.
Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me.
Mais y a pas la figurine.
Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing. No! Oh, thank God. You lived. No, what are you doing, Stanley? Please, I'm asking you not to take this away from me. I can't go back to what I was before. If you die, we'll both go back. Why are you doing this?
Chier.
Stanley, let's go back to the other room. My God, is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over.
Bon, peut-être qu'il fallait retourner chez le patron là, enfin pas aller en haut et descendre.
Am I reading the situation correctly? Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us to get along. But I guess that was too much to ask. It looks like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours.
Ça se trouve, il fallait retourner dans la salle du... la salle de la drogue.
Is it over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
Wait,
Stanley thought to himself. Am I sure that the orders stopped coming in? How is that possible? They never stopped. Surely I was mistaken. No, the orders were still missing. For now.
La traduction est moyenne. Ah, pour le truc des escaliers là.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Something to do with stairs. Ouais, je trouve que ça va quand même, la traduction. On est ok.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Oui, c'était bien là.
And there it is. The last Stiggly Wiggly. Savor this moment, Stanley. This is a real accomplishment. This is doing something just for the sake of doing it. Where so many people expect to be rewarded for the most trivial achievements, you've insisted that a job well done is its own reward. I would tell you that I'm proud of you for collecting them all, but that would be like a reward, and we can't...
Ouais, moi ça me va de pas avoir de récompense.
Instead, I'll just say, it's done. We're all done here. And now we can go to whatever...
C'est pour ça que je vais passer niveau 99 avec Ventus et Aqua. Alors que ça sert à rien. Ah non, là on va tourner en boucle ici, c'est trop chiant. Qu'est-ce qui est mieux, aucune récompense ou une poupe dorée? Je préfère une poupe dorée. C'est déjà ouvert! Mort de rire. Merci, Saphiros. pour ces 200 bits qui sortent de nulle part là. Bon, merci beaucoup. Et coucou à Isaac, que je n'avais pas vu. C'est la vie des complétionnistes. À tous les coups, il y a une 7ème. Ah, tu penses? Ah, ça se peut, ouais. Déjà, il faudrait qu'on retourne dans le bureau du mémo.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Putain, par contre, je sais plus comment faire pour la 7ème statuette enroulée dans du jambon, oui. J'aurais pu emmener le seau. Oh là là.
C'est pour fêter mes 9 mois cotillon, cotillon, cotillon.
Ah, merci beaucoup, d'accord. Merci beaucoup.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Est-ce qu'on est obligé de finir ou est-ce que je peux faire recommencer le jeu? Je sais pas.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Parce que là, il faudrait que je retourne avec le seau, je pense, dans la salle du mémo. Peut-être qu'il se passerait un truc.
Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? That his emotions had been manipulated. No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would... Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed
C'était ouvert là, non?
to turn the controls off and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are said to explode, eliminating the entire complex.
Je sais pas si je dois... si ça s'est... Ah, ça s'était ouvert quand j'ai appuyé sur les boutons ou...
2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start.
En fait, ouais, je sais que c'était ouvert à un moment donné et que quand t'approchais, ça se fermait. Mais...
All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though. This version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better.
Il dit pas la même chose que la dernière fois, là.
Only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock, why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of... I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is?
Tapotez à droite, YouTube, hein.
There's an answer. How many times will you replay this bit, looking desperately for a solution? 10? 100? 1,000? I look forward to finding out and to watching the bomb go off each time you fail. Just you and me and the retching explosion of fire and metal over and over and over for all of eternity. And Stanley died again. And Stanley died again. And Stanley died again. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing.
Je sais pas comment j'avais ouvert cette porte.
Just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count, or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever up.
Bah, je sais pas. Bah, c'était très intéressant. Merci YouTube d'avoir regardé. Ok. Ah non, il n'y a plus de ballon. S'il n'y a plus de ballon, ça veut dire qu'on a tout niqué. Ah! Oh, qu'est-ce qu'on a fait?
Stanley, I'm sorry, but I have to put a pause on things. It's those figurines.
Oh non. Ok, c'est bon.
I haven't stopped thinking about them since you nabbed every last one. Wasn't it just the most intrinsically fulfilling moment of your entire life? Didn't it fill you to the brim with inner richness? Yes, I know we're supposed to be telling a story, but won't you please indulge me with one more trip back to the memory zone? I would love nothing more than to revisit the figurines. Just one more time.
On va encore avoir la petite musique. Memory Zone. Ah, c'est pas la même chose là.
Here's where it all began. The first collectible. Back then, we had no idea of how many of them we'd find. Sure, it said 6 right there on the screen, but how could we know for certain? We were so innocent. We'll never be like that again, Stanley. And here was a second Stanlerine. You found this one all on your own, just by poking around in the warehouse. You did that, Stanley. I'll be honest. Back then, I had no faith in you to find any of them, let alone 6. But you continue to surprise me in all sorts of mundane, unremarkable ways. Okay, let's do a little quiz.
Which of these rooms was the room you found your third mini Stan? Can you remember?
Ouais, c'était dans les bathrooms.
Hey, that's exactly right. It was here in the boss's bathroom. It was the third one. You picked it up and then
Je clique pas dessus.
I'm glad these moments are so crystal clear in your memory, but I shouldn't be surprised. After all, science tells us that it's impossible to forget your third time doing anything.
Je les prends pas, je me dis que ça fera peut-être un truc.
What came next? Oh yes, we found a Figley in this pink room. Oh well, I can't actually say I remember being in this room, but it's here in the memory zone, so it must have happened. This was the fifth mini-Stan, and this one was really something special. It was by the red and blue doors. I remember it so clearly. In fact, because this one is particularly special to me, I made a little video to commemorate the occasion. Enjoy.
Oh mon Dieu. Ce montage Movie Maker là. YouTube 2004, 2006 là, je sais pas combien.
Takes you back, doesn't it? I spent a lot of time making that video.
2008.
8 minutes I wouldn't have spent on anything else.
Best boy, le narrateur.
And then, Stanley, then we came to the last collectible, the final figurine, right here, under the stairs. This memory is the most distinct and clear in my mind, perhaps because it was the one that happened more recently than all the others. Who can truly say how the mind works?
T'as vu, c'est en fonction de comment je les ai trouvés en plus. Enfin.
You picked up a Figley and I thought to myself, yes, that's all of them. They're all collected. It was a moment unlike any other. Except for the other moments picking up figurines, which it was exactly like. And then there was no more, because we've caught up to the present moment. Nothing left to do but move onward into the future. By Memory Zone.
Vous l'avez vu?
No, I'm not done. I'm not ready to move on. Stop the loading screen. Isn't there some way we can stay here, keep enjoying these figurines? Let's just go backwards. We'll do the memory zone again from the opposite direction. See how that feels.
C'est la fougère!
Okay, yes, that spot under the stairs, I remember this. I must say, of all the figurines we looked at in our initial tour of the memory zone, this one is the most distinct and clear in my mind. Let's keep going, I want more. And here's where I made that video. Don't you remember the video we watched?
T'es sûr?
Yes, I love that video. Still don't remember the pink room, Stanley. Still no memory of this one. Good
Oh là,
though.
le sous-titre...
These really were a treat to hunt down. You know, if there had been any kind of reward for finding all of these, it really would have neutered the intrinsic joy of collecting them. I'm very glad we resisted the temptation. Next one.
Oh.
This was our second Figley. Don't you remember? Yes, I remember it too. The past is truly a wonderful thing. Why does anyone ever choose to leave it? Keep going.
Et si on saute là, qu'est-ce que t'en dis?
This is it, the very first one we found in the exhibit where I introduced you to the figlarines. Oh, I want more memories, Stanley. I want to keep going. What else is there? What came before this? Look, it's the terrible new content that we were originally sold on. I remember hating it back then, but time does put a rosy filter on everything. In fact, I dare say I'm actually quite fond of it now. Look how much fun the past is. I want more. More memories. Oh, yes, the two doors. Who could have forgotten that? A classic memory, this one. And before everything else, there was your office. Is there anything else? Was there something that came before your office? There's something I feel I can remember. I can remember. Yes, I'm remembering something now. I remember before this whole story got started. Back then I was different. I used to make big decisions. I was passionate. I was skeptical. I weighed each decision with profound thoughtfulness. And then somewhere along the way, I stopped making decisions. I became lazy. And I came up with a character named Stanley to do my thinking for me. He would make the decisions. He would decide which way to go. I would cheer him on as he collected figurines for no reason. Why did I invent Stanley? Was I lonely? Yes, perhaps that's it. Perhaps I needed to imagine I had companionship. And Stanley really did make for a wonderful companion, even if he was a fiction. But I suppose it's grown old. I want to think for myself again. I want to go back to how it used to be. Yes, I can be on my own again. I can do it. I'll be stronger this time. I'll take care of myself. I don't need Stanley anymore. Oh, but he truly was so much fun to play with. You know what? Since we're in the memory zone, how about one more good memory? Let's go back just once and give Stanley one more run of the office, and then I'll retire him for good. I did enjoy telling his story so very much. Okay, here we go. This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley knew the office layout like the back of his hand. It was only a matter of time before he found the others, wherever they were. Just a matter of time. Stanley picked up the bucket and smiled. He'd never be alone again, not truly alone, not with the bucket around. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Je sais plus où aller, moi.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room. But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge
Tu veux du
was
guidage?
simply the place to be. And here it was.
Oui et non,
Had
je
the
sais pas.
bucket turned out to be correct? Was this no? Never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
Ah, y a plus la
Still
liste.
No one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then, something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him.
Stanley! Stanley, it's me, the bucket.
Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket.
Come to me, Stanley. Find me.
He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
Très bien.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Ah merde! Ah, va y avoir le saut à côté.
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work.
Ah!
But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then
ça me
collapsed
prend la
dead on the
tête.
sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket. Of course,
Il manque une grosse main avec les portes rouges et bleues.
A narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's
Il y a une
all
porte qu'on n'a pas
a
pris,
video
non?
game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket.
Je crois qu'on n'a jamais pris la porte de droite.
Of course,
Voilà.
she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself, my life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
Est-ce qu'il y a une vraie fin à ce jeu? Est-ce qu'on peut trouver un vrai moment où on se dit « Ok, c'est bon, on arrête » Ou est-ce qu'il faut trouver toutes les petites fins qu'on n'a pas faites? Un saut en plein milieu dans la neige. La vraie fin, c'est de suivre tous les ordres du narrateur en soi. D'accord, bon, ça on l'a fait. Il n'y a pas de true ending, voilà, c'est ça. Il n'y a pas un truc, à force de faire des choix par-ci, par-là, un truc vraiment long à trouver. On l'a fait, mais pas avec le saut. D'accord, bon. Dans ce cas, on va bientôt s'arrêter. On va tester la porte bleue. Et on va tester la vraie fin avec le saut.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Il y a une fin assez longue où il faut faire des inputs sur certains ordis. Ah ouais, on a trouvé quelques ordis comme ça, là. Les inputs. Mais bon, si c'est des fins très secrètes, allez voir sur YouTube, quoi.
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors. He entered the door on his left.
Ah oui, il faut prendre la plateforme.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. It was okay.
Hein?
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Après, il y a sûrement des fins très secrètes, très obscures, en ayant fait des trucs très bizarres.
I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door. All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see, there's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map, because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing, because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what, let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
Oui, mais 1, c'est très bien. 4.
Okay, so we're getting somewhere. Clearly there's something here that speaks to you. If I can be honest here, I really don't have any idea where I'm going with this. This whole third door thing was just a stab in the dark. But I guess you're into it, so let's keep this party train rolling. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
C'est moi ça? J'y ai pas joué depuis 7 heures là. Vous mentez, Dolores. Friend list empty. Ok, je me tire.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect.
Ouais, vas-y, hein.
In this game,
Oh, God.
baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
Il y a un succès si tu joues vraiment 4 heures. Oh, on regardera sur YouTube. Enfin, vous regarderez sur YouTube, hein.
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out, I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
Mais...
Ah, fascinating. What do you think?
Mais alors là... What the fuck? Ça, c'est unexpected. Mais le jeu, il était sorti avant. Pourquoi il y a ça maintenant? Dans le 1, Firewatch était remplacé par Minecraft pour information. D'accord, ok. D'accord.
This game is about, Stanley. What's our backstory? What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on
C'est très méta, hein.
below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
Bon bah c'est reparti. Ah, ça... Alors le bruit de la porte Minecraft là par contre... On va rejouer à Firewatch, hein, c'est parti. Let's play disponible sur YouTube déjà, hein, si vous voulez le voir. C'était un let's play très sympa. Projet Firewatch. Mais what the fuck, enfin, c'est trop bizarre de...
Oh no. No, it can't be.
Je sais pas quoi dire.
It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off. Oh, thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You nearly wandered off into that thing. That big, open, just wandering around. No right or wrong directions. No path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game.
Oh là là.
Something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls. Okay, I think this will be just the thing. Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed.
Ah, c'est pas très rapide de parcourir Rocket League comme ça.
Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
Ah, je suis accéléré. Boum. Ça a fait un but ou quoi là?
Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun? Hold on. What are you doing? Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
Oh God.
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it, down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Pourquoi la salle elle ressemble plus à celle d'avant?
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
The good old bucket. Just Stanley and the bucket, off on another thrilling adventure together.
Quoi?
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the... Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Apparemment, il n'y a pas de vraie fin, même si tu trouves tout.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication.
On va faire la toute première fin, mais avec le saut. Et je pense qu'on s'arrêtera là-dessus.
Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire, if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Oh, ça marche plus. Ah si, ça marche. Mais dis bonjour au chien, là. Si tu lui dis pas bonjour, il va pas s'arrêter.
The bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine. Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket.
Il cria dans le seau.
His own life in someone else's control? Never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. Terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket. Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over? Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support. What? Wait. What was happening? Why had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed? An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty, until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths not to part with the bucket. No. Stanley can't leave this place. Not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
Ah! Y a plus de chien.
All of his co-workers were gone.
But
What
why?
did it mean? Stanley
Maybe
decided to go
just
to the
missed the
meeting.
memo.
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ah. Quelle belle fin. Il y a une fin juste ici dans cette salle. Là, cette salle-là. Cher journal. Ah, sauter par la fenêtre.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Ah, mais il faut refaire le coup de... Attends. Est-ce qu'on peut pas? Ah, attends. Là? Mais what? Mais comment vous avez trouvé ça?
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map, until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
J'en ai marre de cette blague.
Ah, then in that case we'll continue. But now, here comes the real question. What do you think would have happened if you had told me that you wanted this to stop? Do you think it would have been particularly different? Would I have taken the same idea but rephrased it superficially to fit that answer? Perhaps you never would even have thought of it if I hadn't brought up the issue in the first place. Oh, now think about it. Will it be worth it for you to restart and then come back here just to do the other option? Clearly, this whole gag takes some time. What if the other option is even longer? How long will you spend in total just to have heard all the narration? Oh, and this is rich. Perhaps you've just played the other option, and now you've come to see what happens in this one. So, what do you think? Which choice was the better one? Imagine if you had selected continue on your first playthrough, how tantalizing it would be not knowing what happens when you pick the other option. Indeed, you are one of the lucky ones. Though if the other option is really miserable to listen to, then perhaps you're not. In fact, I'm just going to say that no one who's listening to this is lucky. Well now, I've built up the other option so much that I'm going to stop talking and leave you to your decision whether to come back here, continue with the game, or just sit in this spot forever and ever. Cheers.
Et c'est donc la fin de ce let's play sur Stanley Parable. La parabole de Stanley est terminée. Voilà, hein. Bon, il y a sûrement d'autres fins marrantes. Sit here forever. Bah, c'était quand même très fun, hein. Le mot à la fin, waf ou journal. Oui, j'ai vu, je sais plus qui, si c'est King qui a dit cher journal. Cher journal. Il y a d'autres fins disponibles sur YouTube pour ceux qui veulent, bien sûr, bien sûr. Il doit y avoir des fins très marrantes. Écoutez, moi j'aime bien ce genre de délire. J'ai beaucoup aimé. Et je suis content de ne pas m'être fait spoiler parce que comme ça on a eu des effets de surprise très sympas. Vous avez dû être impatient d'avoir certaines blagues pour voir ce que j'allais dire et ce que les autres du chat allaient dire. Et peut-être voir ce que YouTube va dire. La chaise. Oh, le pire truc. Le pire truc, la chaise. Bon, YouTube, du coup, c'est la fin. C'est la fin. N'hésite pas à aller voir d'autres vidéos. Il y a sûrement d'autres fins très marrantes. Des bisous. Et si tu as compris quelque chose à ce qui s'est passé, n'hésite pas à le dire en commentaire. À bientôt, YouTube, pour un autre playthrough. Voilà.